Welcome to episode 208 of Come On You Reds, the definitive Toronto FC podcast. And boy, oh boy, do we have a podcast for you today. Special guests aplenty. And as usual, my main man, Terry Dunfield by my side. What's going on, Dunfield? How are you?
Good, man. Good, man. Full strap in. Full roster today.
It's one of those things where it's weird not having a midweek game, isn't it? So we'll reflect upon the win against Atlanta United, look ahead to the top of the table clash, TFC, Philadelphia Union, Supporter Shield controversy. As president of the Red Patch Boys, Brad Humber is going to join us. We're going to pay tribute to Pablo Piatti's headed match winner against Atlanta by naming our top 5, the best headers of the ball all time. And to help us count them down or up for you is our good buddy Danny Dichio on the show.
The big fella.
That's your idea, buddy, to call out the big man for some big help for this week's High Five.
We bring in the experts, don't we?
We do. And so plenty to get into. We should shout out off the top. Terry and I finally went out to the golf course and had our golf match. And after a shaky front nine, Wheeler came out on top.
You were going to bring this up.
Wheeler came out on top, and Terry Dunfield bought me lunch last week.
Wheels, yeah, man. Dang.
It was a beautiful day. It was a beautiful morning.
Don't be all come at me with your
escarpment. The leaves were turning. Beautiful.
I don't need your humility about the day. I get another chance tomorrow.
Tomorrow we'll be back out at it.
2-1 in the series.
I'm feeling good heading into tomorrow, though. I'm feeling good. I'm stretching it out as we speak. Let's get straight into last week. TFC 1-0 victory over Atlanta United. Piatti in the 89th minute with the match winner. A great goal in a game where, Toronto FC were on top of things, were really in complete control. It was just a matter of whether they'd be able to find the back of the net. And boy, oh boy, Richie Laryea does it again, working down that right-hand side. Great switch of play from left to right. Laryea just takes out his 3-wood, puts it on Piatti's head, who just guided it into goal. And there you go. TFC come away with the big 3 points. Your thoughts on the game, Terry?
Kind of chronologically, I think I got to give some kudos out to Atlanta. I thought they were set up with real purpose and had a game plan. Their spacing was good. They were difficult to break down. Any opportunities in the first 20 minutes came from turnovers or mistakes. I thought TFC protected the box and covered each other really well. Whenever we were caught out of position, there was nice cover from Simon, Omar, and Gallagher at times. The couple times TFC did play in behind, they caused problems. And then Atlanta made a couple of subs. And I thought when they brought in Morales and Barco, it was going to go one of two ways. They were going to go out and win the game, or they were going to start to give up a little bit defensively.
One of the big changes, okay, it's been less than a year since these two sides met in the Eastern Conference Final. And I think heading into the season, you would have been crazy to discount or dismiss, I should say, Atlanta United as a legit MLS Cup contender. But in their first game against Nashville, Joseph Martinez goes down. They go to MLS's back, a little bit wounded, a little bit disconnected. DeBoer is let go. They have an interim head coach. And Piatti Martinez is sold to Saudi Arabia. Terry, they had one starting player start against TFC last weekend who started that match against Toronto FC in the Eastern Conference Final last October 30th. One player. Toronto FC had 7 starters from that match in their starting 11. Continuity is so huge in this league. Familiarity. They're going through a little bit of a rebuild on the fly. And for me, it's been all too quick. So look, you might say that they're well organized. Stephen Glass, their interim head coach, had a good game plan, but they simply don't have the same players that they did a year ago. They had 6 shots the entire game. They're second to bottom in MLS in shots per game. What happened to this team that was the most dangerous team in Major League Soccer in attack? They simply don't have it. They had 1 shot on target, and Quentin Westberg did really well to make that save off Cubo Torres once he came into the game. But that's about it. I thought TFC were in complete control by virtue of the lack of continuity in this Atlanta United team.
Yeah, Yeah, really well summed up, man. I had a chat maybe a month ago um, with former TFC head coach Bob DeClerc. He was Aaron Vinter's assistant. He was De Boer's assistant in Atlanta, and he was discussing some of the ongoings. And it was always going to be tough when Tata left. When Tata Martino left, the soul of the club was almost ripped out.
Sure.
They went in a different direction. They tried to go a little bit more English. They brought in Frank de Boer, who had a plan. They had a very successful first year. The next year, leading into MLS, is back. They had an okay start. But remember when they went in down to Orlando, they were missing a ton of players.
Yep.
And unfortunately for the coaching staff, the results weren't good enough. The strategic plan was ripped up, and now all of a sudden you've got an interim manager in Glass who's just trying to manage through this year. And I think his squad of players is okay. I'd say it's middle of the bag for MLS. And he's just tried to put together a game model that suits the players he has. And it's a very different team, as you said, to what it was under Tata Martino.
Look at the players that aren't there. Like the two Martinez's, Gressel, Nagbe, Parkhurst, Gonzalez, Perez. Like,
yeah,
my God, that's almost an MLS All-Star team right there.
You're ripping the spine out of your team, and you're ripping out a real identity. You're ripping out pace. You're ripping out players that can set up attacks, and now it's just an okay MLS team that's very diligent and has a game plan going into games, and that's what TFC came up against. TFC's short players right now. They're on the back of 4 games in whatever it was, 12, 13 days. TFC have to make a change. So there's a lot of variables too TFC are dealing with as well in-house.
It was their 5th game in 15 days. So it's a game every 3 days for Toronto FC. Before the match, you find out that Chris Mavinga has a bit of a hamstring. He's out. Ayo Akinola, they're starting number 9, replacing Josie Altidore, also injured. He's out. Justin Morrow's out. Eric Zavaleta was unable to go. He has a little bit of a hamstring as well. So it's not as if this Toronto FC team was at full strength. But like I said, and I want to underline that word, continuity, consistency, pick which word that you want to choose there. But it's such an advantage for Greg Vanney and his coaching staff that there's a group of players that have been here. When you go and add a new player, you're adding 1 or 2. You're not overhauling the roster year over year. And so many teams in MLS do that, Terry. So many teams are unrecognizable from the group that these teams had 2 years ago. It's not the case with Toronto FC. And I think it's one of the key ingredients to their success that there is stability within the team.
For sure. Keeping that core group of players together, and then, whether it's rewarding ones with contracts, whether it's making difficult decisions, and you're going to have to let 1 or 2 go because where MLS is right now with the salary cap, it's a stepping stone league that you're going to see big players leave, whether it's for money and going to the Middle East, right? Middle East seems to be a hot spot right now, or whether it's young players pursuing their dreams in one of the top 4 leagues. But the club will always move forward, and your key core pieces are so important.
Let's deal with a couple of the storylines that happened during the match. The most notable with Jonathan Osorio coming out of the 20th minute, felt a little bit of tightness, more precautionary than anything else, I am told. And on comes Michael Bradley back into the team after missing 9 games with that MCL injury. His last time out was September 1st. And you're like, can Michael Bradley make it through 70 plus minutes here? It's general. It's Michael Bradley. Why wouldn't he? Honestly, like, he wants to be on the field. He was probably knocking on Greg Vanney's door in the previous games, trying to get in early as well. And he came in, and his transition back into the team was seamless, Terry. I wouldn't have expected anything else. Just bringing bags of experience, the know-how, and I thought he managed the game very well.
Yeah, I'm not sure Michael would be banging on the coach's door.
You don't think so? To say, hey, let's get me back in and playing as soon as possible.
I think he'll want to. That's the competitor in him, but I think he'll also understand that that'd be a little bit disrespectful to the guys that have got them to the top of the league. And what it's done is it's bought a little bit more time for the captain to get more minutes training, and he will find his way eventually back into the team. And it came a little bit quicker. I thought he was solid. I don't think he put a foot wrong. He was a little bit maybe safe with his passing, but he was excellent. And one player I'd love to talk about, and it was great news, Wheels, to hear that hopefully it was a little bit of a tightness and not a pull, is Jonathan Osorio, man. He's been unbelievable playing in that double pivot role. His objective numbers aren't what they were in his career year in 2018 when TFC went deep in the CONCACAF Champions League with goals and assists. But this year, you know how he can be judged? Is TFC's top of the freaking league.
No kidding. No kidding. And it's funny. I actually think that Osorio might be more suited to playing this role long-term for Toronto FC. I know he's capable of providing the goals and assists, but he looks so comfortable playing from a deeper position. His distribution is excellent, and he's really dug in and evolved as an even better defensive player. And you've known the player, since he was a kid. Did you see this side of him being able to be developed, Terry?
Yeah, I describe him as and I mean this with no disrespect, a facilitator. He's a player that makes everybody better. He makes the team better. And the way he covers, the way he fills in space, whatever actions required in the moment he can do. And I feel like playing a little bit deeper allows him to also work on his game and the defensive side a little bit more. We know he can operate as an 8 or a 10 in the half space on the shoulder, but I think that this will be good for the development of his game. Am I surprised? No. He's just a player you want beside you because he just makes you better, and he knows what's required in every single moment in the TFC way. And I think it's nice segue from what we just discussed about your core players driving your identity, and he's definitely one of them.
I want to tip the cap to Greg Vanney as well. Yet again, it seems like a recurring theme on this podcast. I chat with Vanney before every game, get a feel about what their objectives are, how the team's going to line up, that sort of thing. And he told me, I want to save Richie Laryea to bring him on in the second half. He's played a lot of football, but more so when you look across Major League Soccer, there's been so many late goals scored. And those moments later on in matches are the ones that are deciding games as teams are a little bit leggy, a little bit tired. I want to bring on Laryea's pace and enthusiasm and everything that he brings in the second half and have him cause problems. Well, that's exactly what happened. Laryea came on, some tired legs of Atlanta United, and ends up setting up the match-winning goal again. Your thoughts on Laryea, the decision to bring him on late, and perhaps that might be a way forward, not only but for Toronto FC, but other teams in this league to take advantage of fatigue here in the latter stages of the season.
Yeah, great point. I think you have to look at your circumstances, and TFC are at the end of almost like a mini tournament. It makes me think of what it's like playing in the Euro Championships or the Gold Cup or World Cup, where you have so many games in short succession that players are going to be tired. You can expect this result, and keeping a player like Richie in your back pocket when you don't have a whole bunch of pace that you can add into a game when players are fatigued and the game's a little bit more open, it's very clever. And just looking back at the goal this morning, it actually comes from, as you described it, off the hop. It starts on the left-hand side off of a set piece.
Yeah, Aro's fouled. Yep.
It comes back to Laurent Simon. And I think he plays a really key role in this. He takes on a really difficult pass on his left foot to find Nick DeLeon just pulling off his marker, who quickly gets it to Laryea with time on the weak side. But that pass from Simon almost opened up the game. And then it was Laryea. It's almost Soulsma. Do you remember Nick Soulsma?
Who
used to play for TFC?
I do.
You have this trick where he just stop it, hesitate the defender a little bit like in basketball, and then he brings this like crossover to get past the player. Richie does the same thing. It's not super sexy. There's not a ton of step overs. He just hesitates the defender and then takes it with his left foot. It works every time. TFC have runners in the box, and it's in the back of the net. But it took a few things, starting off with Greg Vanney's game plan, for that goal to play out.
By the way, Laryea just a wee bit quicker than Soulsma. Just his feet a little bit quicker than Nick.
But it's funny. It's just like It's almost like an Overmars. It's like an old school Chleb trick that just kind of, there's not much to it, but it just always works because you're worried that he's going to maybe come inside. He can go both ways. I don't think Laryea is 100% sure which way he's going to go, and all of a sudden he's past you.
By the way, I love how Soulsba is now in the same category of Overmars and Chleb.
It's just like the most basic trick, but it works. Later.
I want to come back to Simon. Piatti gets the goal, and all of a sudden, after weeks and weeks go by, and Toronto FC don't have a headed goal. Yet now, in recent weeks, you had Pozzuelo, you have Akinola, and Piatti. That finish by Pablo Piatti is excellent. Just doing enough to steer it on goal. Didn't take the sting completely out of it, but be able to put that ball on target, because that had some spice behind it, what Laryea put on it. And he was still aggressive on it, but just turning and framing his body and his head at the perfect angle to find the back of the net. I just thought it was expertly taken by Pablo Piatti.
Yeah, he adjusts well, and he's a little bit early to the near post. You can see him kind of take a step back, and he just uses the pace off the cross to find the back post. It's man, is he a willing runner. He covers every blade of grass, Piatti, and it was interesting to see him in that 10 role. I think I prefer him kind of coming wide into space rather.
I liked him up top, Terry. I got to be honest with you. The way that he led the press, he provides something defensively, leading that front line of defense, if you will. He brings something more than Pozzuelo does in that role. I liked him playing there.
It's different. I agree with the defensive side for sure. But I feel like Pozzuelo's, he needs that freedom to roll. I feel like he's a little bit less engaged when he's wide. He's a little bit shackled. There's more defensive responsibility for him. And you can just sort of see him looking over to that number 10 position saying, "Coach, come on, man, put me in there." So I also like too, as a midfielder underneath, kind of knowing exactly where someone's going to be or a reference point. And I think Pozzuelo is that, where Piatti's a little bit of a moving target in there.
These headed goals, I welcome them wholeheartedly. We'll chat with Deitch about it a little bit later on, but this is a Toronto FC team year over year. We really haven't had that aerial presence. It was Nick Haglund at one point. I know for a fact that was one of the reasons why Omar Gonzalez was so appealing to Toronto FC to bring in to help them with set pieces. And it's something that's improved over recent weeks. So I really don't mind TFC chipping in with headed goals here or there. It's a refreshing turn of events, Terry.
Yeah, I've been saying it all year. I'm in a little bit of a pool. It's not gambling, in a group chat with the under 15 team. And we put in our prediction and first goal scorer. And probably for 70% of the game, I keep going with the big man, Omar, and he's getting closer.
Yes.
I'm not going to get any odds because you only get a point for getting it correct. And then you get double if you get the score as well. But he had a couple good clearances in the games before off his back foot.
Yeah. Shout out to Pablo Piatti. It's a great goal. I want to continue on Piatti for just a moment. He's now had 4 goals and 4 assists on the season, but I think the best and brightest spot about Piatti on TFC this year, his ability to stay healthy. I mean, this is a player who's had a nightmare with injuries for the last couple of years, Terry, but TFC have managed him well. He's not always playing 90, but when he does, like he does on Sunday, on the weekend, he looked fresh. He looks like he's beyond those injury worries. And if you're any other player that's concerned about your fitness, your status coming into Toronto, I mean, that problem should feel like it's alleviated because the staff has done such a good job with Piatti, and his ability to stay on the field has been an absolute coup. Yeah,
I'm going to touch wood as we say that.
Yeah, sure. I don't have the power to jinx, by the way. I do not have that ability.
I'm sure he went through a real thorough medical when he arrived, and that would have been important. But your takeaways or the proof that's in the pudding is going to be how he plays, how he moves, how many games can he play. From that standpoint, he's knocked it out of the park. I'd say for 95% of the games, he's brought in energy. He's been a live wire. He's very dynamic. He looks durable. And I think he, is pretty much what we expected. Anyone that's played 300 La Liga games, that's got the number of goals and assists that he had before coming here, you can pretty much bank on that he's going to produce.
I'm happy with that return, 4 goals and 4 assists. And what he's meant to the team is goal celebrations. He looks like he's won the lottery every time. I love the enthusiasm. It's great as well. He's hooked up well with Pozuelo. So.
Yeah, I was just going to go there. Is the kind of Spanish Latin connection's been important. I think he feels comfortable away from the field. And I think Greg Vanney's game model, which has been adjusted a little bit for him, suits him down to the ground as well. I just say he's comfortable. He's playing without thinking right now. It's very unconscious, and he's just playing his game.
Just another couple points I wanted to make before we move on. Yeah. I don't know any other club in Major League Soccer that can flip-flop its fullbacks like Toronto FC does. Like, seriously, Laryea can play down the left, the right. Arrow can play down the left and the right. And it changes. Like, if you're an opposing manager, how do you game plan? Because you know that Vanney's going to use Arrow and Laryea based upon the vulnerabilities of the opponent, right? Yeah. Like that's what it seems like.
Don't forget too, you've got Morrow and Gallagher to come in there as well, which I'm sure you know. One thing we're seeing is our fullbacks getting really high, and they're one of our attacking weapons. And you're seeing our 8s rolling out into that fullback space, getting on the ball, facing forward. Markey does a great job of that. So I just think it gives us more layers to our attack. I think our 2 center halves, which are whoever plays at center back, whether it's Simon, Omar, Chris, and Zavs when he came in, are so comfortable on the ball. That they do a great job of setting our attacks up, which allow our forwards, our fullbacks to get forward, knowing that it's not really going to break down. And I thought against Atlanta, our center backs did a great job of being tight with possession and not losing it, being a little bit safe. They were our free players. And if they turned the ball over, we would have been in trouble.
It's a perfect segue into my next topic, because I wanted to point out Laurent Simon, because Mavinga's been on such a roll. He's been so good. And then when you hear he's going to miss a game or two with a little bit of a hamstring, you're like, oh no, here we go. Mm-hmm. But Simon, I think some people forget, because he struggled out of the gate in this very weird season, which, you know, when you're an older player, it takes you a little bit to get up to speed. But what Simon has proved is when he's getting regular football, he's reliable and can be a very good source, a very good player to come in at the back. You got to remember last year during the playoffs, when Omar was dealing with a little bit of an injury, Simon was preferred, and when Gonzalez was good to go. And Simon did start that game against Atlanta United in the Eastern Conference Final, and he's had 2 very good games back-to-back against New England and now against Atlanta. I thought he was excellent both games, Terry. And for all the slack he gets at times, he's absolute quality when he's playing at his best football. And I think we're seeing that right now.
100%. And it's interesting. He's getting closer to 35. But none of that's exposed. He just has so much quality. And when he's engaged, when he's 100% in a little bit of a rhythm, he's one of the best center backs in the league. And I think he just sees the games 3 steps ahead of everybody. And I think now when you talk about his body being in a rhythm, he's able to go and deal with whatever he sees. It's nice to see him leaving the sort of confines of the penalty box, going out wide and dealing with wingers at times, clearing crosses. He was so good in possession against Atlanta. I thought he put fires out well against New England. I think he's also a big personality in that changing room, from what I can see. And when you're going through difficult times right now in the pandemic, I think him lightening the mood a little bit in his own kind of way, those leadership skills have been very important as well. And what's important for a leader too is being given an opportunity to play. And you know what? He's really rewarded Greg when called upon, and his teammates.
He's been excellent. And I like how you pointed out his involvement in the lead up to the goal that was scored, because you're right. Not every center back looks to play that ball. It was slick.
On your left foot. Come on.
Yeah. Perfect to Nick De Leon, who continues to be an influence. The last thing just on Simon, some players are more suited to start games and come in. I think those times where Simon has struggled, it's when he comes on, in the 70th minute, 75th minute, 80th minute, just when he starts games, he just looks far more comfortable. Undefeated in 9.
We got to give a shout out too to Westberg, who kind of ties that all together underneath. Very proactive. He's a step ahead of a lot of stuff, and he's made some big saves through this stretch as well.
Well, he made that save at 0-0. There was an incredible save on that cross, the headed attempt by Atlanta
from Torres, the big man from Houston. A little bit of Gordon Banks there, but. One thing that he does is he just gets into good spots and he makes tough saves look easy because he's a step ahead. His awareness is a different level.
His 10th career clean sheet for Toronto FC. Unbeaten in 9, TFC on 41 points, 3 points better than Philadelphia Union, who beat New England Revolution on Monday. 2-1 was the final there. Shout out to Tajon Buchanan to keep on bringing him up. Scored a great goal for the Revs in that game. But now it sets up a top of the table clash Saturday night, 7:30 p.m. You can watch on TSN. I'm looking forward to it already. I thought Toronto FC played Philadelphia off the pitch a couple weeks ago, but these two, and throw Columbus in the mix as well, are the 3 best teams in the Eastern Conference. Orlando will feel like they should be in that mix as well. And maybe in some people's eyes, I just look at it being a 3-horse race right now. But a massive advantage for Toronto FC. They got to go home and see their families. They immediately left Hartford Sunday night. They spend 3 nights in their own bed. They're refreshed. They come back to Hartford on Wednesday and start preparing for Saturday's match, I should say. I just think the context is right there for Toronto FC to come up with another statement performance on Saturday night.
Yeah, I agree. I think that they're playing for the Supporters Shield 100%, or however that plays out. There will be something handed out, and the supporters got to be careful, because if they hold too hard on the foundation, MLS will just create their own trophy, I think.
No kidding.
But yeah, I think the team, or from a player, if I put my player's head on, you've just got through close to 3 weeks away from home. This next spell away is 10 days. You've just kind of recharged with your family, which is huge. And I think when you're on the road, Wheels, as much as you miss everybody, I think that the club's doing a great job of taking care of families and all those little things where the players can just concentrate on their roles and their jobs and whatever that is, and just focus on playing, because there's not a whole bunch else to do.
4 games left of the regular season for Toronto FC. I look at it, if they beat Philadelphia, it'll be hard to take away the Shield, the regular season title, whatever you want to call it right now, away from them. That's why this Saturday night's game is so big. You go on and play both New York teams before the end of the year, and then Gonzalo Higuain and Inter Miami, a team that's struggling, but will be intriguing to see the Higuain brothers, because one of them has owned Toronto FC in the past. We'll see if Gonzalo can get his act together and start playing his part as well. So we're in the stretch run for the regular season. We're going to get into the Shield controversy from a supporter's perspective in a moment. But what I want to bring up about that, and this has stuck with me and continues to bother me, that aside from the Shield being reward to the regular season winner, if Toronto FC, Montreal Impact, and Vancouver Whitecaps, if one of those teams goes on and wins the Shield, they don't get same reward as the rest of Major League Soccer, because they're a Canadian team and they don't receive that automatic berth into the CONCACAF Champions League. For me, this is still criminal. I understand that it's about the U.S. Soccer Federation handing out that spot. But Terry, this isn't the case in England where, Cardiff City or Swansea City is playing in the Premier League. They don't take away, entrance into Europe based upon them being a Welsh team. This is part of the deal that you make when you bring Canadian teams into the league, that they should be considered equal to every other team in Major League Soccer, but they're not. And it's not just that rule. It's like that a Canadian player playing for an American team doesn't count as a domestic player. These things need to change. And I think that through this Shield controversy, this gives us a chance to reflect upon what should be considered right and proper in Major League Soccer. And if TFC goes on and wins the Supporters Shield or whatever you want to call it now, they should get that automatic berth into the CONCACAF Champions League. There's no doubt about that in my mind. Moving on from the Atlanta game, Terry, we got to deal with the biggest story in Major League Soccer this week. It was when the Supporters Shield Foundation just announced, it was just randomly on Twitter, that they decided to forego awarding the Supporters Shield for the 2020 season, a decision which is being criticized and rightfully so. I still cannot believe that they made this decision in the first place. And the fallout has been widespread. It's obviously skewed negative, and people are looking for answers and accountability when a decision like this is made. And instead of just you and I discussing about this, we wanted to turn to an actual supporter and people that were excluded from the decision-making process, and an individual who stood by this team through thick and thin over the years. And 2020, it's been no different. We want to welcome President of the Red Patch Boys, Brad Humber, to the Come On You Reds podcast. What's going on, Brad? How are you?
Hey, how are you guys? Good to see you. Happy to be here.
Awesome to
Not
have
under
you.
these circumstances, but it is 2020, and anything is unexpected these days, it seems.
No kidding. Let's start here. What has it been like being a Toronto FC supporter this year? Not being able to go to games and kind of supporting in a little bit of a different way this season.
It's definitely been a way to adapt. That is for sure. We started out the season great. I was in San Jose to start the season off there. I was looking forward to a great season as my first year as president of the Red Patch Boys. And then, we had a great, coming together of all the supporters groups to have a march to the match on the first home game of the season. And then we were all waiting for that second home game the very next week. And then boom, the world flipped on its head, so to say. And it's been challenging. We didn't know when the season was going to return, how it was going to return, what the season was going to look like. When the MLS back season, started up, we, as a supporters group, had the opportunity to have Zoom chats and have, the right to kind of be in the stadium. As you saw, like on the screens and on TSN, when they were broadcasting, they would have supporters being there. But it's been a challenge. We've wanted to do, a lot of messaging to the players to let them know that just because we're not in the stands, we are still here with you. We have been posting on our Twitter and our other social media, Instagram, stories and stuff like that, tagging players and just saying, hey, just because we're not in the stands, we're not here with you. And as the season goes on, we don't even know what 2021 is going to look like, right? So
Sure.
We're still here with you, and that's what we want to tell the team. That's what we want to tell the players, the coaches, the staff, everyone, that just because we're not in the stands being loud, boisterous, jumping, waving flags and being there to be that, 12th man to say, we're still here with you at home, wherever we are.
The match day support is one thing inside the stadium, whether it's at BMO Field, whether it's traveling, which you and yourself, you and other people within the Red Patch Boys and other supporters group spend a great deal of your time, hard-earned dollars to go and support this team away from home on a regular basis. So how have you adapt? How have you involved? Like, are you keeping your membership engaged, watching matches together? Like how are you going about kind of filling that void?
Well, basically what we're trying to do is we're trying to just, let, our members know that we want them to kind of reach out to let players know how, we're doing it. We're going to be, this weekend having a Zoom call where we're going to have everyone, or we're planning on doing it. We're just setting up the logistics of it to get everyone on to actually watch the game together to see, ramp up for the playoffs, and then also use that time together in a Zoom meeting and in a Zoom I guess, kind of viewing party, as you could say, to just have a Q&A and talk about the season and talk about how this season has been going, because it has been challenging for everyone. And we realized with, especially in Toronto, is the fact that, earlier in the summer, when everything opened up and bars were allowed to slowly let people in,
sure,
and patios were slowly able to open up, we did, let our members know, hey, there's going to be some members. Obviously, use all your safety precautions, wear a mask, wash your hands when you're going in and out of the bathroom, all that kind of stuff. But keep yourself safe, but please join us. We've had a viewing party up north near in Vaughan, where people could come and see. And then we've also had a place downtown, where we've had, let members know that they can come in and hang out and watch the game with us. But unfortunately, with these shutdowns again, we've kind of gone back into our hole again, I guess you could say. And it will be more Zoom, and it will be more kind of just, sharing our experiences on our social media platforms.
Wheels, you know what comes to mind, Brad, is just before MLS is back, Ali Curtis was talking, and he was talking about the courage it took from the team to leave their families and go down to the epicenter of the world in Florida to go and play. And he used an analogy of a special ops mission, and that kind of stuck with me. And he said his biggest takeaway from the tournament and how he's going to judge the team is he wants them TFC to represent our fans, to represent our city and our club well. And your support 100% is felt from within the club, man.
And that's, I think that is where there's a lot of things wrong with this, decision. And I think the one thing that sticks with me is the fact that they're trying to base this decision on an imbalanced schedule. And the schedule is imbalanced because the league is making this schedule for the safety and health of their players. They're making it so players don't fly from coast to coast, or wherever they're east to west, north to south. They're keeping it in a very restricted area because of the fact that we are living in a pandemic. So if you're going to say, well, the schedule is imbalanced, basically you're saying, well, we're not giving this award because teams are playing other teams that are close to them 4 or 5 times instead of playing the rest of the league. You're saying basically that what I'm getting from it is basically you're saying you don't care about the players' safety and health. And because that is what the rejig schedule is all about. It's about the health and safety of our players and getting a season up and running.
No kidding, which we all appreciate. It's taken incredible sacrifice and commitment by many to make this happen. So if any of our viewers or listeners on this podcast this week are not familiar to what actually happened, the Supporters Shield Foundation, as you said, Brad, decided that they weren't going to award the Supporters Shield this season. Jerome, can we pause just there? I need to sorry, dude. Someone was just ringing my doorbell. Did you pick that up?
Yeah. No, but it's okay. Yeah, you can definitely take care of that. We can do the pause there.
Just pick up if you can just pick up after what Brad had to say.
I didn't hear anything, by the way.
I didn't hear anything. So I think you're good on that front.
Yes.
My mic's actually working. Okay.
It's a foundation. They found you, man.
Okay. Coming down in 3, 2. So Brad, let's go straight there, because on the weekend, as I said, the Supporters Shield Foundation, a group of supporters, I guess, maybe you can explain that a little bit more, decided, among other reasons, that because they were unable to show their passion in the stands, that they weren't going to award the Supporters Shield for the top MLS team over the course of the regular season. As president of the Red Patch Boys, were you informed of this prior to this statement being released? And 2, who are these people anyways?
Very good question. To answer your first question, we were not given any type of notification. To give you a quick timeline of how this was kind of made, or how the Supporters Shield Foundation says that they communicated to us, was that there is a Slack message board, much like a Discord or a message board that you would use within your work or just with your friends. Posted in the June, July, I can't remember the exact date, there was a supporter group leader in there who asked a simple question of, what are we doing about the Shield this year? Months went by and that question was never answered. There was very, very little discussion in this forum anyway. It was basically used for, how are we going to, as a group of supporters throughout the league, how are we going to, work on league initiatives to try to, work with Pride Week, or how to work with the Black Lives Matter,
which are fair questions to ask, right?
Yes,
right.
Exactly. But in our mind, never was it. We get emails sent to us, monthly emails saying, check out the message board for so and so and so and so and so and so. There was never anything that said the Supporters Shield is. We are thinking about not awarding the Supporters Shield this year. That was never communicated to us or never sent to us. Please check the message board. Nothing like that was ever sent to us to even look at that. On October the 2nd, it was posted, but it was posted as this is done, this is final. We, the Supporters Shield, who are representing you, the supporters groups of all the teams in MLS, we have made the decision not to give the award. They then said they were going to be contacting MLS to finalize their statement. And within a couple of days, MLS was notified. And then the statement came out 2 weeks after that, after MLS decided, went through their obviously way of handling this situation. So that is basically how that came to be. How the board is made up of 5 members, 5. So 5 people made this decision.
Representing all of the supporters groups across Major League Soccer, which every club at least has one supporters group, correct?
Correct. And they're all represented within, there's 2 different entities here. There's the Supporters Shield Foundation, and there is the International Supporters Council. The Independent Supporters Council. Okay. So basically, to get onto the Supporters Shield Foundation, you need to be a member within the council. So
did these 5? I don't really understand, because these 5 people are in charge of making this decision, but were the various clubs and their supporters consulted in making this decision?
No, they were not. And we received an update from the actual Supporters Shield Board Foundation. And if you don't mind, I'll go through, I won't read all of it, but I'll go through, what they sent to us last night and in the latest update to this. This is the beginning. We're not going to mince words. We messed up. What began as an idea to give every supporter the chance to have time with the Supporters Shield after being away from the game we all loved for a year has failed to live up to our expectations. We truly believed this would be seen as a positive given the current climate and felt this was the right move. Clearly that was wrong, and for that we apologize. We have learned that we have learned that we should have done a better job reaching out to individual groups in order to come to the correct decision on how to handle the 2020 season.
So Brad, I'm just going to cut you off there, because I have it in front of me as well. It's a little bit lengthy. Basically, they said they screwed up, to which you articulated. They're asking for members' output to come their way by Thursday at noon. Correct. And they're going to have further meetings with MLS, but there's no sense as of right now that they're willing to overturn this decision. That's essentially the nature of it, correct? Basically what they have told us is that they will take our voice back and then come up with a decision. I believe that decision will be made on a conference call with everyone there. So it won't be made, well, here's the decision we made, now get on this conference call and make that. I believe that every supporters group and every leader, as far as I know, and from what they have told us in various messages leading up to this message being sent out last night, is that they will get us back onto a video conference call, let us know of the information that's being received, and then we'll proceed from there. Okay. Do you know of any supporter that you've talked to, whether it be from within the Red Patch Boys, from other groups within Toronto FC, or across Major League Soccer, that support that this decision will be upheld by the Supporter Shield Foundation? I.e., that do you know anyone, or how many people do you know that support the decision to not award the Supporter Shield?
It's a great question. And honestly, I don't know any. I posted on my Twitter account, the information that, when it first came out, and got a lot of feedback, a lot of likes, a lot of retweets, and that reached a lot of people. And I didn't get one response that came back and said, wait a minute, don't you think this is actually the right thing? Every single one was, why in the heck is this happening?
Which that's why it's fine if they released a statement last night saying that they screwed up. Well, this was their opportunity to rectify that situation without making themselves the center of this story. And Brad, we all know supporters, we all know people. It's not just supporters. There's administrators, there's people within clubs, there's people within the game of soccer across North America that make it about themselves and not about the collective. Mm-hmm. And this is the big miss in all this. It just seems like they are trying to wield this power that they've given themselves over the rest of Major League Soccer and its great players, its staff and supporters, which is completely unfair. Exactly. I just don't know how they hold the rest of Major League Soccer hostage to make a change like this, which to me is just completely nonsensical and completely short-sighted.
And acts on behalf of a supporters group and people. It'd be like the players union president in a major sports league working with the league changes to the schedule. Say Major League Baseball this year, they were going back and forth on how many games to play this year. It's like the president of the players union accepting the offer from the league without going back to their players reps and saying, hey, this is what the league has given us, and this, what do you guys think about it? I will send this back. There was never that kind of communication. It was never, especially for a award that is made by supporters. It's got supporters in the damn name. It's the Supporters Shield. It's by the supporters. It's not by the foundation. It's not the Supporters Shield Foundation Award,
And that's why, just for me, I'm not sure why this group of 5 people will pick and choose what it means to be a supporter during a pandemic. Obviously, every single fan wants to be inside that stadium, wants to go back to normal, but that simply isn't the case this year. And we've seen individuals be creative in the way that they support their group. There's been people when teams land that stand outside and welcome home their supporters, send them away on long trips. People in San Jose are in the parking lot. They're honking their horns. There's been drive-in viewings. I mean, to me, this season is the epitome of what it means to sacrifice to support your club. Yes. That's why in a year like this, when the players and staff, and you heard Greg Vanney and Michael Bradley and the likes of them articulate this very well, but that's why I wanted to have you on this year. I mean, it's got to pain you to an extraordinary level just not to be there to support your team like you usually do. And by taking away the prize that's given by supporters to the players of the team that did the best over the course of the regular season, I think it's taken away something from you as a fan as well.
It has. You're now seeing, like, people come out and say this shield doesn't mean anything. Well, it kind of does mean something, and it means a lot to a lot of Red Patch Boys members, especially because of the fact that this new iteration of the Supporters Shield was designed, was built here in Toronto by Red Patch Boy members, and it has an extra special meaning for not only Red Patch Boy members, but also Toronto FC fans. And this is nothing like our decision of whether or not this should be awarded because Toronto FC is in first place has absolutely nothing to do with what we feel how the award should be done. And that's just where we come from a Red Patch Boys, and a Toronto FC supporter standpoint.
Terry, what about from a player's perspective? I mean, the great supporters of TFC have been part of the TFC success story over the course of the years. There's no denying that. As a player, when you heard this news, how did you react?
It's ridiculous. I think players this year have gone over and beyond and deserve 2 shields. I think the timing of it is crazy. I think justice will prevail and it will be overturned. And what it's done is it's fueled the players. It's just more adversity for the players to say, you know what, at TFC, let's make sure we win this. And now we can really make some noise. Let's take care of our business. And Greg said, if we have to lift a manhole, we will. And I thought that was cool. Like they're training on a baseball field right now. They're away from their family. They deserve, whoever wins this league deserves it as much or more than any other championship.
Terry, as a player, you play for silverware. Like as soon as you walk into the training ground, there's the spots. Like you look up to your left, and there's spots for the MLS Cup, the CONCACAF Champions League, the Supporter Shield. Like there's a spot for it inside the training ground. You play to win trophies, don't you?
100%. And I think that's how a player's judged almost at the end of your career, is how many trophies did you win? And that's how clubs are judged. And that's how there's a legacy to clubs as well, and a history behind clubs. So important, man. And if I don't know, Brad, what you think, but through this adversity, it's almost galvanized the club a little bit, and it's brought everybody together with a clear motivation, and that's overturning this. And it's been great. And it's quite indicative of where we are as a society right now, that, you know, we've got numbers and strength. The fact that we're the top of the league, our opinion is going to be heard, Brad.
Yes, exactly. And it should be heard, with the fact that, you know, I don't want to downsize, you know, any other team that's playing obviously through this, you know, this season, but the adversity that our players have had to be put through, and being flying out of their own country and not being able to play in their home stadium, and not just our team, Montreal, Vancouver as well.
Yeah,
you know, the Canadian teams, it's extra, you know, hard on them for this season, whether the schedule or not, or who their opponent is. Give me a break that the opponent, you know, the strength of an opponent is playing more into, you know, the lifestyle of what the player has to play, you know, through other circumstances.
It's nuts. So the first thing I did when I saw this news was, Brad, I went onto your Twitter account, and I thought, there's no way TFC fans would have signed off on this. No chance.
No. So this is the thing. There's multiple ways to deal with this moving forward. The one thing that I would prefer not to see is the league come up with their own award for the regular season. I still want the Supporters Shield to mean something on behalf of the supporters. So what I want is common sense to prevail here, and things to get back or maybe improve upon where we've left off. Clearly that there's holes in this process. Clearly there's problems with the way that this is being decided. So how do you, as a president of a supporters group, what sort of input do you give this group? How do you have your say to make sure that a decision like this never happens again?
Well, we're in ongoing discussions now with, you know, with the Supporters Shield Foundation, more, you know, where this message board and where this has been and set up is already brought more people who weren't even into this discussion before as more of a group. And what I'm seeing is that you're getting more. I'm talking to, you know, members of different supporters groups around the league now, which, you know, is great from a standpoint of, this is not just for a Supporters Shield, but if we want to do something as a league, it makes the communication better to reach out to Columbus and reach out to New England, or reach out to Atlanta and say, hey, this is something we might want to think of as doing, you know, as a group collaborative for supporters, because supporters at MLS are completely different than any type of other fan base within any other sport in North America. It's just a unique fandom that needs to work together. And that's the word, together. You know, and Tio has used that, you know, multiple times this season. We're all in this together.
Brad, I love too when you talk about MLS is unique, and I don't want MLS to lose its identity. I remember when I first found out I was coming to the league, I love the playoffs. I think they're great. I think more weight needs to be put on winning the league and what comes with winning, what comes with that. But we can't lose the playoffs though, and we can't throw everything out the window.
No, and you do have two different ways of awarding a champion in MLS, which is, the semi, regular way of how it's done in European soccer and other soccer, which is you award the team that's played all their regular season games, whether or not you're playing everyone once or twice or evenly. And then you have the playoffs, which is you get in there and that's where you go for the big trophy, the cup.
I love what you said, Brad, about it. Again, it's about the we, not the me. It's been like that far too long in North American soccer. And I'm not just talking about Major League Soccer. And it's held the game back. People fighting for pieces of something that's still very much growing. We're still in the very much the growing process for this league in North American soccer, and we need to come together. It's special to be a supporter. It's special for the players to have that relationship with you guys and understand that you are behind them no matter what. So I wish you the best of luck over the next few days. Where can people follow along as to what's happening and what you and the Red Patch Boys are doing about it over the next few days, Brad?
Well, they can check out our Red Patch Boys Instagram and Twitter. We'll be providing updates just as soon as we have them as to what the announcements may be or what could be coming along. You can also check out my Instagram, my Twitter that I'm very active on. DJCUSE, DJQs is my Twitter. And if you have any questions, please feel free to send them out, and we'll try to answer them as best we can for you.
Awesome. Good luck, Brad. Thanks for joining us. By the way, you're batting leadoff today as we have another DJ about to join us on the podcast. DJ Danny Dichio is about to join us.
Oh, okay.
By the way, we pay tribute to the great movie Borat by calling this the High Five segment. Borat 2 comes out this week. Comes out Friday. Terry, your Friday night is set.
There we go, man.
Chingui. And a big fan of Borat is our very own Danny Dichio as a special guest on the pod.
I thought you was going to say that I remind you of Borat, Gareth. So I'm happy with you saying that there's Borat 2 coming out.
Well, there's rumors you have that mankini with the straps.
Yeah, I used to, but I've grown out of it now. I've put on a little bit of timber over the COVID time.
I thought that was the real reason why they were canceling Halloween this year.
Possibly.
No one wants to see that. So Terry came up with this great idea because to pay tribute to Piatti's headed winner against Atlanta, we want to name our top 5 or best ever headers of the ball in the game of football. And Terry, immediately Deech came to mind for you.
2 goal. Whoa, we're going 2 goal.
Yeah, 2 goal. That's fine. Yeah, all good.
Yeah.
And your mate Deech came to mind.
Yeah, he's number 5 on my list. He's the expert in this field. You are, big man. So why not call on the expert?
There you go.
I've seen firsthand how he passes that wisdom on to our young strikers in the academy.
Well, Deech, just how good was that Piatti header to win that match against Atlanta for you?
Well, it's actually interesting because I was having a conversation with my son Franco about it, who thinks he knows a lot about football, but supports Manchester United and knows absolutely jack about football. And
good kid.
I was telling him how
Europa League was on yesterday when I.
Oh, mate, he was all over the place. He was all over the place. But just going back to the conversation I had with him, and I said, I can't tell you how difficult that placement header was from Piatti, whether it was a reaction just to flick it to the back post, but obviously the pace was on the cross from Richie, and whether it got a slight deflection or not. But for Pablo to adjust his body, his head, and guide it to that back post with a little bit of skip off the grass was a really fantastic technique that you can't just buy, and it just shows you the caliber of player that Pablo is.
Deech, are you thinking in that moment when you make that near post run, just try to get something on it to get on target? Are you thinking, can I get this to the back post? What's kind of going through your head in that moment?
It depends really, Terry, on whether you're moving or whether you're static. So if you're trying to get in front of the defender, your momentum is kind of taking you past him. And as you said, you're just trying to get a slight touch on it. I think Pablo was pretty set, not static, but he was set in a spot where he just literally had to adjust his body and his shoulders to try and guide it to the back post. And I really feel that it was 100% made that he tried that. It wasn't a lucky header or something that he was just trying to put on goal. He was trying to adjust his shoulders, you can see, and just get that little flick of the forehead to the far post. And it was a fantastic header, a really, really nice header.
Terry and I were discussing this earlier, Deech. Just there aren't too many headed goals coming from this team. Like there isn't that big aerial presence. Omar Gonzalez is the one guy, but it's a team over the years that hasn't really got it done that way. It's nice to see from time to time. That's why I think it's worthwhile discussing a little bit the way that goal was scored and the fact that it came from an unlikely player in Piatti coming off his head.
Yeah, one of the smallest players as well. And you're right. We don't score a lot of headers. It's a part of the game that I think a lot of players don't really see the benefit of, whether it be set pieces, corner kicks, free kicks, from open play like we scored the last minute the other day. But it's a type of goal where you usually have a big target man or midfielders that are bombing in the box, or you have a midfielder like a Timmy Cahill that I used to play with at Millwall that played in the league as well, who was a smaller player, but fantastic at ghosting into the box and arriving unmarked and just powering his header into the goal. But again, it's a goal's a goal at the end of the day. But I really, coming from the old school and the way I used to score goals and the way my teams used to play very direct or getting the balls in a mixer, like we used to say, Terry, is a dying art kind of thing. And I really feel that even at the younger level where me and Terry are working, a lot of players are still struggling to have the proper technique of heading the ball, whether it be defensively, whether it be offensively. Tel, I don't know if you want to jump in on that.
Yeah, I think you make a great point in that you don't see that action as often. And I think it goes to a little bit of just the modern game changing a little bit and style of play and playing for that Man City space right at the byline, and you're seeing more cutbacks. Whereas when I first started out in the game 20 years ago, it was maybe a little bit more route one. It wasn't maybe as calculated. It was a little bit more pragmatic, where you always had that out of hitting the big striker and then kind of playing off of him. Whereas now you see headers in transition, and the goal that comes to mind is maybe the Gallagher cross to Ayo, where he gets on the end of it. Whereas once that attack becomes set and the opposition's organized, now I think teams are really looking to break each other down with combinations. Maybe it's a 1v1 and you're just seeing balls kind of cut back a little bit more. And you'll see the odd goal from set pieces, as you guys said. Omar's been close, Pozzuelo at the back post. But I'd say, Deech, to your point, kind of just recapping, is I think you're just seeing a shift in the way teams play a little bit more.
When I hear Ollie say that Mason Greenwood doesn't know how to head the ball, like, it sends chills down my spine, honestly, because I mean, Deech, and Terry's probably sick of hearing me say this. I love the 4-4-2 formation, those out and out wingers bombing down, 2 men up top, 1 near post, 1 far post, reading the play. And I just think of those vintage United teams with Beckham and Giggs swinging in the crosses. I mean, that's the way the game was played for so long. And I don't know if we're in a better spot today in terms of the attacks, but regular service inside the area, there's nothing wrong with it for me, getting a big man like you on the end of it.
Yeah, well, you're right as well, Gareth. The wingers, kind of their gameplay has changed a lot now as well. And Terry will tell you as well, we have a lot of wingers, very, very good wingers within the club, but their ability to beat players is very good. But now it's that final action of, are they going to goal? Are they playing a through pass, or they getting that much needed cross in the box for the striker that's made his second run in the box and no one's putting it in? And I can't tell you how frustrating that is as a striker when your winger's doing double moves and checking back and then trying to take the fullback on again.
Yes.
And you're trying to lose your marker. But on the counter to that, what I would say as well, and I don't know if Terry would agree with this, defending has changed from the crosses as well. Normally, if a fullback was trying to defend a winger, a centre back would come out and double up and provide cover, where now it's the old Mourinho rule where they're just sending one fullback out to deal with the winger or fullback, and they're actually really making the box really compact and very, very hard to deliver a pinpoint cross into an attacker. So things have changed defensively as well.
Yeah, there's not as much space. It's something our first team does quite well, and there's a lot more onus on fullbacks to defend, and your cover actually almost comes from your winger back pressing or maybe an 8 coming over.
Yeah, midfielder coming across.
And you got me thinking about relationships a little bit, Deech, and I'd be interested in whether you had good ones with wide players or fullbacks. But I remember my time at TFC playing with Ashton Morgan. I knew as soon as he picked up that ball, it was touch and a cross was coming up into the box. And you had that chemistry with him where if you just keep gambling, eventually something's going to drop to you, especially from him.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I played with a lot of wingers in my career where I knew the ball was coming in, so it wasn't even a second question. So I was just basically trying to lose my man or create that little bit of space, that separation between me and the defender. And obviously with my height, I had an added advantage of just getting in front of people or pulling off of people. But you're right. If you play with a winger or a fullback, that even not only the strikers are telling him to get the ball in the box, but the head coach, the manager is saying, listen, this is your role. We want you to put at least 20 crosses in the box this game. And as the old rule is, if you don't buy a ticket, you're never going to win the raffle. And that's for shooting. But again, that's the same for crossing as well.
All right. Interesting. That was like their performance criteria. You need so many crosses. And if you're not getting final product, you're off.
Yeah.
I think that Manchester United ruined it under David Moyes when they had like 80 crosses against Fulham and couldn't score. And then no one wants to cross the ball anymore. So it always comes back to United. So Terry, Deech makes your list at number 5, the top 5 headers of the ball all time. Do we want to share some other TFC names? Do you have any other TFC names, guys that you guys played with who are decent headers of the ball?
I think Couvermans was good at that near post run, that glancing Piatti header, we'll call it now.
Nicky Hagland, I'll add him.
Nicky Hagland was very
one of the most famous goals in Toronto FC history of his head.
Who are you going to say?
Nicky Hagland was very good in
I was going to say Ryan Johnson, but he just couldn't score.
He still is top 10 goal scorers in Toronto FC history. Believe it or not. So Johnny's still there.
Champions League. Okay.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I'll start my list off. So I've got 2 asterisks. I couldn't fit everybody in. So I've got Alan Shearer and Cristiano Ronaldo don't make my list.
How does it, hold on a second here. How does it Ronaldo make your top 5 list? He scored over 125 goals with his head. He doesn't make your list?
I've got the big fella in it. At number 5, Danny Dichio.
Ronaldo's also played 1,000 games, Gareth.
Exactly. How many chances is this guy?
And he almost has 1,000 goals.
That's correct.
He's number 1 on my list, Cristiano Ronaldo. Like, all you got to do is, was he 34 last year in that goal against Sampdoria? Yeah. Where he just hung in the air for and what makes him, he's the greatest goal scorer of all time, arguably the greatest player of all time, but also just the aerial presence. He can score goals in each and every way. That's way, and I love the way that he attacks the ball as well. And I think it's something that he's improved on over time. From when he started, in Portugal and came to the Premier League, he wasn't a great header of the ball, but he's just become such a dominant physical force.
Because he doesn't like to run. He just gets himself in the box now.
Please, the disrespect.
That was my whole career, Terry.
I never left the center circle.
The big man Deech at number 5 for you. Deech, is there a headed goal that you remember the most? Maybe your best?
You know what? I was speaking to Terry, and I didn't actually score many headed goals for TFC. It was very strange for me. I scored them with my feet, which was again very strange. But there was a couple of really important goals I scored for Millwall in like the quarterfinals of the FA Cup against Burnley. Scored some goals for Sunderland that were in our championship year where we got promoted, and just there's a lot of headed goals that I can't remember as well because of the many concussions I've got as well, Gareth. So please, I apologize for that.
Deech, were the flowing locks a benefit or a liability?
Liability, definite liability. Especially when it's a cold, rainy night at Stoke on a Tuesday night, and you're trying to head the ball, and you've got your long strands of hair whipping in your eyes.
Got you. My asterisk is Kevin Davies, Bolton Wanderers, former Bolton Wanderers. How good of a player, and he wasn't a big guy either. It just seemed like he'd always end up picking a goal. He scored 15 Premier League goals with his head. And I think he probably scored about 20 overall. My number 5 is a player that you mentioned, Timmy Cahill. Whether it was with Millwall, in MLS, or the Red Bull. I've seen him live in person for Australia scoring goals with his head. I can't remember a goal that he scored with his feet, to be honest with you. And he's 7th all time in Premier League history. Like, he's one of the first players you think of when you think about headed goals.
Yeah, for sure.
I've got him.
And he had an unbelievable ability. I mentioned it before, of just kind of hovering on the 18-yard box, just outside, and just picking these moments of seeing where the defenders were going to protect the near post, back post, or leave a big gap in the middle near the penalty spot. And the key thing with Timmy, and this is what I speak to the likes of Io about, even Jordan Hamilton when he was part of the younger group at the academy, is being on the move in the box and being aggressive.
Totally.
More often than not, if you're static, you'll score 1 or 2 goals a year by just landing on your head and you guide in the goal. But more often than not, you want your strikers being aggressive, and that momentum. It doesn't even have to be a good header in the end. The power comes from your momentum and your movement in trying to get onto the ball. And Timmy had a great execution of doing that.
He almost turned himself into a false 9. I saw him play as a 9 a ton, and I wonder whether that ability almost put 5 years on his career when he couldn't run maybe as much as a midfielder. I just add to your point there too, Deech. I remember playing him once when he was at Everton, and he has this incredible competitiveness as well. And I think you touched on that a little bit, that he wants that ball more than anybody, and he's going to take some knocks. But it's almost, that knock is worth the feeling of scoring and going and boxing that corner flag.
Yeah, for sure.
Did you say he's number 1 on your list, Terry?
Number 1. Yeah.
Wow. So Ronaldo's not on your list, and Timmy Cahill's number 1.
I like it. I like it.
I like it as well. Who's number 4 for you, Terry?
You're laughing. It's so annoying.
Welcome to the club. You've heard it enough over the years. Number 4.
Deech, have you got a list?
I haven't, but I can go off my head a little bit.
Okay. Well, hold on. We'll get you to fill in the blanks of who we missed, because number 4 for me is John Terry. I should have had him from the back. 17. I think he scored like almost 20 Premier League goals as a center back. So John Terry is my number 4. At number 3 for me is Miroslav Klose. He scored 5 headed goals in the 2010 World Cup, included a headed goal hat trick against Saudi Arabia. It's hard to keep him off the list. Number 2, Sergio Ramos. I don't know how many goals he scored, but he's won Champions League finals in 2014 against Atletico Madrid. He's still a beast in the air. So that's my list. Nice. Cahill, Terry, Klose, Ramos, Ronaldo.
Just before I go through mine, did you ever play against John Terry?
Yes, unfortunately.
And what made him such a beast in the air?
Because he was a horrible bastard to play against. Excuse my English. Sorry. Forgot we're live here. Sorry.
No, it's good.
No, he was one of the toughest.
What's up, Claire?
He was one of the toughest guys to play against. Like, he just didn't give you an inch. And I was actually pretty friendly with him as well. He obviously was at Chelsea, which is a close club to me, but I knew him off the pitch reasonably well, and he was a nasty guy, like on the pitch. It didn't matter if you were his friend or not. But again, a very aggressive guy, as you said. So whether it's defensively, you wanted to win the ball, he would come through the back of you and go and win it. If it was in the 18-yard box and that ball was just clipped up nicely into an area, he was going to power his way through his own teammates, plus the opponents, to put the ball in the back of the net. He wasn't such a good executioner of a header, but he was very aggressive and very dominant in the air.
Yeah.
How much is
my list?
That? I know we got to get going here, but to somebody knowing, Deech, when you're a striker, that a center half's going to come through you. So I remember Andy Morrison used to say that, a big, ugly center back in the Football League, that almost a shout and kind of positioning is enough to put a number 9 off.
Yeah. for sure. And you know the type of players that you're going to be playing against prior to the game. So you know you're playing against an aggressive guy where you're going to have to take a lot of knocks and you're going to have to initiate contact. And most of the time, the guys I played against, big guys, I really enjoyed the battle. It was the smaller guys that I couldn't play against because they were very nifty and they would step in front of you. They wouldn't let you grab them or feel them or initiate contact. They were 2 steps ahead. And a good example of that is Drew Moore, who used to play for TFC.
Yep.
Very, very clever, intelligent defender. He didn't let you kind of get near him. He just always stepped to the side, would step in and win it very, very cleanly. And those guys were more difficult to play against than your big lumberjacks like Terry, who was a very, very good player as well.
You'd have to add Advil up before those games, hey?
Yeah, for sure.
I think Greg Vanny was a bit like that, where he'd be pretty proactive, nipping in front as well. Okay, I'll go through my list quickly. My list, I kind of know it's a little bit personal. Do you remember big wheels, or not that big? It was maybe 5'10". He's on Sky Sports, which is fantastic now. Mika Richards. Do you remember when he broke on the scene?
Yep.
Incredible leap. He was that good in the air. Man City would try to isolate him at times. Never quite worked out for him at Villa. I've got Big Dunk on my list. Duncan Ferguson. At number 3. Number 2, I remember when I first came over from Canada watching training, watching Niall Quinn. Were you his replacement at Sunderland?
Yeah, I was his understudy, then replacement. Fantastic header of the ball as well.
I was his boot boy. By the way. And you know what? Before training, I had to get his kit, put it in the dryer, and make sure it was warm when he put it on before training.
Oh, I love that.
Go around like
That's
this.
pretty.
Oh, that's the best. Man. That's a veteran move right there.
But then he'd give me 30 quid at Christmas, so it was happy days. And
good list, buddy.
Cahill at number 1.
So who do we miss, Deech?
You know what? I'm going to go against the grain a little bit and speak about 2 or 3 players that I feel should be better in the air, given their profile.
Nice.
So my number 1 is a very good player that has had undoubted success, and that's Ibrahimovic, a guy that you expect to be very, very dominant in the air, but he would always prefer to bring the ball down on his chest or play with his feet, and did not score as many headers as he should do. Number 2 is Peter Crouch, another guy that was labeled as being very, very tall and big. Not labeled, he is very tall and big, but labeled as being very dominant in the air. But he wasn't dominant in the air for his height. He was 7 foot something, but he was very, very nifty with his feet, but did not score as many goals as he should do with his head. So it just goes to show you, like the likes of a Timmy Cahill, smaller guys that we've spoken about who are very aggressive on the move. Their timing's perfect, score more headers than the 6'5" giants that I'm speaking about. But a guy that we've probably missed out on both your lists who I rate very much in the air there's 2 guys. There's one who's just signed for Manchester United.
2 guy? Are you saying 2 guy? He was a footballer, man.
No. There's 2 guys that we've missed out on your list.
Oh,
Cavani,
Blackburn player.
Yep.
Cavani's very, very good in the air for his height. He's on the move, very aggressive. And the second one is a young boy that I really, really like. Liked him for a couple of years now. Came through the England ranks as well. Won the World Cup with the 20s. And he's scoring goals aplenty at the moment for Everton. And it's Calvert-Lewin.
Yeah, he's got 4 already on the season. Headed goals. It's pretty incredible. Good shout. The only other names I had written down, Olivier Giroud. Probably very underrated in terms of what he does in the air. Remember Kenwyne Jones?
Kenwyne Jones was very good.
Wasn't he a handful? He was built like a...
Yeah.
And then in MLS circles, he's still scoring them from headers just because he has an incredible leap, is Kai Kamara.
Yep. He scored plenty of goals, hasn't he, Kai? He doesn't get enough credit, actually.
Yeah. That's kind of everyone that I had on my list. I think I'm
What about
done.
big? I was just thinking Les Ferdinand. Did you play with him at QPR?
Yeah. Les was a very, very good header of the ball. He had unbelievable hops. He could hang like Cristiano Ronaldo as well. Big unit, was never in the gym, never did any weights, and he was built like a running back. Unbelievable physical capacity to just bully defenders. So that's another good shout as well.
Deech, before we let you run, obviously the TFC2 season, it was a bit of a failure to launch. How are you keeping busy right now, buddy? How are things?
We're trying to adjust. I mean, the key thing for us, Gareth, is keeping the boys motivated. And when you have no games, it's tough. And when you have no league season, it's tough. But we can't even play exhibition games at the moment. So we're doing a lot of technical and functional work to try and improve on specifics, whether it be with defenders or attackers. But I keep saying to the guys every day, you guys have to respect and not so much worship, but just understand how lucky we are to be training in this beautiful facility with the resources we have. Coming onto a grass field, we're lucky enough to be training on the first team field at the moment because they're obviously based in Connecticut. So we've had the privilege of doing that. But just being out here, being able to play football, being in a team environment during these unprecedented times is a bonus for us. So just trying to keep everyone motivated and competing still has been tough, but they've been very good so far, the boys.
Last one for me. I'm not sure if Terry has anything to add, but a number of young players have gone out on loan as well. How much are you watching them play? Do you remain engaged with the players while they're away, Deech?
Yeah, myself and Mike Munoz, we speak to the players every week. I spoke to a couple of the boys that are in Denmark yesterday, and they're really enjoying their time there. They're enjoying being in a competitive environment, playing league games twice a week. Obviously, the boys in the USL are starting to trend backwards now and join us back up. Peruzza joins us back up on Monday. And then the CPL boys have all returned as well, and they've spoke very, very positively of their experience in the CPL and the clubs and the environments they were in down there in the Prince Edward Island. Good
stuff. Terry, anything to add?
Noble scored a goal. Noble Callo scored a good goal, didn't he?
Yeah, really nice goal. That's from distance as well. These experiences, I'm not sure whether we would have got them if we were in season with USL and obviously the first team. So I keep saying to them, make use of it. Make use of this experiment, this experience that you're having, going to a foreign country, playing week in, week out with players that are fighting for their careers, that are fighting for a living. We've both been through it, playing that week in, week out is very hard to replicate here at the younger levels in their development.
No, good stuff, DJ. Noble, another player that probably can be better with their head as well. At what?
Yeah,
6'5"?
You're right. Him, Rocco, Julian, they should all be better with their heads.
Roof painters. Yeah. At the top end, man. Each nothing's given to you. And I think that's the biggest thing that these young players will take away, that if you want to be a pro, you've got to bring it and fight every single day. And at every single level, I'm saying stuff, Deech, it brings challenges and different types of challenges, and it's great for these guys to experience this. Deech, I'll see you in a couple hours, man.
Okay,
nice
guys,
work. Way to use your head on this one, Deech. We'll see you around soon.
I'm gonna hit it now. Look.
Whoa! Our cameras will never be the same. See you, Deech. Good stuff.
Smashed your computer.
We're not paying for the repairs either. That's why I made your list. That's man. This week's high five. Terry, good episode. We covered a lot this week. A reminder, the top of the table clash, Toronto FC, Philadelphia Union coming your way Saturday night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. Join me for TFC pregame live on Facebook Live at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. We'll wrap things up with After 90 Minutes. Good stuff. We'll see you on the golf course tomorrow, Terry Dunfield.
Looking forward to some redemption.
On behalf of
By the
Terry,
way, my 3-wood and wedge is down in the lobby. They've just arrived.
Whoa! You're raring to go. I can't wait for it. On behalf of Terry and J. Rome and Deech and Brad as well for joining us this week. Thanks to him as well. I am Wheels. This has been Come On You Reds.